Good evening, class. My name is India Regan, and for my small group communications case study, I will be discussing a club that I participate in here on campus. I've been in this club this year as well as last year. So for those of you who do not know, I am an ROTC on campus, which means that when I graduate, I'll be an officer in the Army, to put it shortly. And so there's a club that affiliates itself with ROTC. This club is called Pershing Rifles, or PR for short. Now, in this club, last year, there's two teams, a male team and a female team. And last year, our female team was 3 seniors, and then it was me, who was a freshman. And one of the senior females was the president of the club, so she kind of organized everything as well as ran the club and, planned all the practices as well as just everything that comes with being president. So this year, since she was a senior, she's not here anymore, and I was the only person on the female team with any experience, which I had to recruit bunch of freshman girls onto it. And so no one had really filled that position of leadership in the club, and since I was already trying to recruit girls, I just filled in that spot myself because I didn't think anyone else was doing it. No one was talking about the club, and it was actually a little bit late into our season already. And so I started planning the practices after it, and I planned the tryouts for the freshmen. And one of the male team members came up to me, and he is a year older, but he came up to me and he was like, I was elected to be the president for this club this year, and this was something I didn't know. And so I had to kind of give that power back over to him. And so this is the problem that was going on within our group because he hadn't really taken that initiative. But that leads me to talk about small group communication concepts and theories. And one of those concepts that I want to talk about is conflict within a small group and how it leads to growth. And it's actually really positive and beneficial. And so conflict in this case was me taking that role, that position of leadership when it wasn't mine. But because of that, it propelled him to take his leadership role seriously because he felt a little threatened. But that really benefited our group, and now he is taking that position of leadership seriously, and so it got our group back on track. And so this leads me to this idea, this theory in small group communication, which is this theory of interconnectedness. Now, interconnectedness is viewed in 2 ways, which is a ripple effect and synergy within the group. The ripple effect is characterized, and to quote the book, a chain reaction spreading across the entire system. This is the Rothwell textbook on page 42. And so this ripple effect, or this synergy within a group, is that everyone is working together to be the best that they can be, and that they kind of play off each other's skills, and everything is just working out really well. And so within that, talking about my PR team, I sort of had to fit into a role to benefit the group and to make it work really well. And so that's something that I had to consider, is that there are certain positions at play which will help the group as a whole, and it was really in my best interest to benefit the entire PR team. Which leads me to another theory, and this is the theory of structuration within small groups. And to quote the book again, it's groups establishing structures for discussion and problem solving by creating rules, norms, and power distribution to permit the system to function effectively and sustain itself. Again, this is the Rothwell text on page 434. And so while I was considering this fact, I had to acknowledge that there was a certain role for me to fill that would benefit this club and the functionality of it, while he, as the leader, had his role to fill, and it wasn't my job to do that. And so there were certain norms and rules that I had to respect so that we could function well as a group. Which leads me to another concept at play, and this is 2 concepts actually, which is cooperation versus competition, my bad. And so these are 2 theories discussed in the book that kind of oppose each other, and the book kind of takes a side that cooperation is the superior of the 2, but I wanted to take a step back and analyze both of these at play within our small group. Cooperation being me on my female girls team. We're all working together for one unique goal, and that is for us to win as a team. And so we have this group mentality of cooperation, which really propels us to do better. But in this case, we also have competition because there's a males team that competes with us. And because of that, we balance each other out by working off of each other and competing to really better ourselves as a whole. And so those 2 concepts at play within our group are benefiting us when we are preparing for our competition this coming spring. And so again, this has a lot to do with who is the leader in the group and who are the followers. And that's another concept the Rothwell text talks about, is that in a group there are dynamics of leading and following, and it's not just up to the leader to lead the group, but also the followers to do their part. To quote the Rothwell text on page 166, followers need to have agreeableness, which is a tendency to be pleasant and accommodating, and that's the quote from the textbook. And so it's like a two-way door where both parties need to do their participating to make everything function well, and we see that in my PR team. And so this leads to the last concept I'm talking about, which is that all teams are groups, but not all groups are teams. And in this case, we are a team and we're working together. And to quote the Rothwell text on page 198, this team requires complementary but not identical skills. And so we work together and we fill the roles we need to fill to work well as a team, leading and following, and just working against each other and with each other to be the best that we can be. Thank you.